Hey everyone, gather round because I've got one wild story to share. Seriously, if you think your life's been a roller coaster, just wait until you hear what I've been through. It's a tale of love, betrayal, and unexpected twists that'll make your head spin. So grab some popcorn and settle in because this is going to be a doozy. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? I'm Evita, 30, female, and up until recently, I thought I was living a pretty decent life. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but whose is, right? Anyway, it all began back in college. That's where I met Justin and my sister Millie. We were like the three musketeers, always hanging out together, cramming for exams, and hitting up the local bars on weekends. I remember this one time we were at our favorite dive bar, celebrating the end of finals. Here's to another semester of barely scraping by. Speak for yourself, I aced all my classes. Show off. Some of us actually have to study, you know? Hey, not all of us can be blessed with your brains, Millie. Some of us have to rely on our rugged good looks and charm. Is that what you're calling it now? We were inseparable back then. Our nights were filled with laughter, inside jokes, and dreams of the future. I remember one particular night, sprawled out on the grass of the campus quad, staring up at the stars. You guys ever wonder where we'll all be in 10 years? Oh, that's easy. I'll be a hotshot lawyer, obviously. Obviously. And I'll be a world famous author living in a cozy cottage by the sea. And I'd be, I don't know, happy, I guess. That's all I really want. Well, whatever happens, we'll still be friends, right? The three of us against the world. Oh, wait, little did we know how things would change. You know how these things go. Feelings started to develop, and before I knew it, Justin and I were an item. I'll never forget the day he asked me out. We were walking back from class, and he suddenly stopped and turned to me. Hey, Evita, I was wondering if maybe you'd like to go out sometime, like just the two of us? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd like that. Really? Awesome. I mean, cool. That's cool. Smooth, Justin. Real smooth. Hey, cut me some slack. I've been working up the courage to ask you out for weeks. Weeks, huh? Why didn't you say something sooner? I guess I was scared. You and Millie, you're both so important to me. I didn't want to mess up our friendship. Well, I'm glad you finally did. It was awkward and sweet, and I was over the moon. Of course, this kind of threw a wrench in our little trio. Millie was cool about it, but things were never quite the same after that. I remember the conversation we had when we told her, so, Millie, Justin and I have something to tell you. Oh, what's up? Well, Evita and I, we're kind of dating now. Oh, ooh. Well, that's great. Are you sure? We don't want things to be weird between us. Of course not. I'm happy for you guys, really. But despite her words, I could see a flicker of something in Millie's eyes. Disappointment? Jealousy? I couldn't quite place it. Still, I didn't think much of it at the time. We were young, and change was just part of growing up, right? Fast forward a few years, and Justin and I were married with a beautiful baby boy named Greg. Life was good, or so I thought. But then we got some news that would change everything. I remember sitting in the doctor's office, holding Greg on my lap while the doctor explained, Mrs. and Mr. Lakeup, after running several tests, we've concluded that Greg is on the autism spectrum. He also shows signs of ADHD. What does that mean for his future? Every child is different, but with proper support and care, many children with autism and ADHD lead fulfilling lives. We'll do whatever it takes to support him, but he'll never be normal, right? Mr. Lako, I encourage you to think of it not as normal or abnormal, but as a different way of experiencing the world. Honey, we'll figure this out together. Don't worry. I won't lie, it was a lot to take in, but Greg was our son, and I was determined to give him the best life possible. I threw myself into learning everything I could about autism and ADHD, finding the best therapists, and advocating for Greg at school. Justin, on the other hand, well, let's just say he didn't handle it as well. I started noticing little things at first. He'd come home late from work more often, saying he needed to decompress before dealing with Greg's meltdowns. He'd skip therapy sessions, claiming he had important meetings he couldn't reschedule. One night after putting Greg to bed, I confronted Justin about it. You missed Greg's occupational therapy again today. This is the third time this month. I told you I had a meeting I couldn't get out of. These sessions are important, Justin. Greg needs both of us to be there for him. Well, maybe I need a break sometimes. Did you ever think of that? Well, of course, I understand needing a break, but we're in this together, Justin. We can't just check out when things get tough. Maybe you can't. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just forget it. I'm going to bed. I was shocked by his outburst, but I tried to be understanding. Raising a child with special needs isn't easy, and we were both struggling to adjust. But as time went on, Justin became more and more distant. It was like he resented us, me for not giving him the perfect family he'd imagined, and Greg for simply being who he was. Meanwhile, I was trying to keep my writing career afloat. I'd always loved writing, and I'd managed to publish a couple of books that did pretty well locally. I was even starting to gain a bit of a following, which was exciting, but also added to the stress of balancing everything. I remember one book signing event where things really hit home. Oh my gosh, I love your books. How do you manage to write with a family at home? It's definitely a juggling act, but my family is my biggest inspiration. That's so sweet. Your husband must be so proud. Yeah, he's very supportive. Is everything okay? Of course, just a bit tired. You know how it is. But the truth was, Justin seemed annoyed by my success. Every time I'd share good news about my writing, he'd find a way to change the subject or make a snarky comment. It was like he couldn't stand the idea of me having something that was just mine. Another book signing? Don't you think you're spending too much time on this writing thing? I thought you'd be happy for me. This is my dream, Justin. Yeah, well, some of us have to live in the real world. Someone has to pay the bills while you're off playing author. I'm playing author? Is that what you think I'm doing? And just saying, maybe it's time to focus on what's really important, like our family. My writing doesn't make me any less focused on our family. I can do both, Justin, whatever you say. Then came the bombshell. I found out Justin had been hanging out with Millie again without me. At first, I tried to convince myself it was innocent. Maybe they were planning a surprise for me, or maybe they just happened to run into each other. But the more I thought about it, the more it bothered me. I decided to confront Justin about it one night. So I heard you've been hanging out with Millie a lot lately. Yeah, we grab coffee sometimes. What's the big deal? The big deal is that you never mentioned it to me. Why am I not invited? God, Evita, do I need to report every little thing to you? We're just catching up. Stop being so dramatic. Dramatic? Justin, you've been distant for months, and now I find out you're secretly meeting my sister. How am I supposed to feel? Maybe if you weren't so wrapped up in your writing and Greg's issues, you'd have noticed I need some time for myself too. Greg's issues? He's our son, Justin. And my writing is my career? I can't believe you're throwing this in my face. I can't deal with this right now. I'm going out. Justin, wait, we need to talk about this. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Justin and I had a huge fight that night, with him accusing me of being paranoid and me questioning if he ever really loved me at all. After that, things got even worse. I was so stressed and upset that my writing suffered. I missed deadlines, turned in subpar work, and started declining invitations to events. My little bit of local fame started to fade, and I felt like I was losing everything I'd worked so hard for, but nothing could have prepared me for what came next. I was using Justin's laptop one day when a message notification popped up. It was from Millie, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Can't wait to tell everyone about the baby. Are you sure Evita doesn't suspect anything? Don't worry, she's clueless. We'll break the news soon. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. My husband and my sister, and they were having a baby. It was like My whole world was crumbling around me. I couldn't confront them right away. I was too shocked, too hurt, but I knew I had to do something. So I decided to play it cool and invited Millie over for tea the next day. When she arrived, I tried to keep my composure. Hey sis, thanks for coming over. I feel like we haven't caught up in ages. Yeah, it has been a while. How have you been? Oh, just dealing with life's little surprises. Speaking of surprises, got any news you'd like to share? What do you mean? Cut the crap, Millie. I know about you and Justin. I know about the baby. I saw the color drain from Millie's face, and that's when Justin walked in. One look at us, and he knew the jig was up. Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. Might as well come clean now. And then, to my utter disbelief, they both started laughing. Like this was some kind of joke, like my heart wasn't being ripped to shreds right in front of them. You know what? I'm glad it's all out in the open. I can finally be with the sister I've always liked. And I can give Justin the family he deserves. How could you do this to me, to Greg? This new family is going to be better than anything we had, Evita. No more dealing with your neediness or Greg's issues. Neediness, issues. Is that how you see us, Justin? Your wife and son? Oh, come on, Evita, you had to know this was coming. Justin's been miserable for years. And you're my sister. How could you betray me like this? All's fair in love and war, sis. Justin and I have a connection you could never understand. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own sister and the man I'd loved for years talking about their new family. Like Greg and I were some kind of defective product they were replacing. You're both disgusting. How long has this been going on? A few months? But honestly, Evita, I think I've always loved Millie. You were just there. We've been married for years, Justin. We have a child together. Hell, you're the one who asked me out. A child you're barely managing to raise. Face it, Evita, Justin deserves better than a struggling writer with a special needs kid. I felt like I'd been slapped. Every word was like a knife, twisting deeper and deeper. But it got worse. They announced they were throwing a party to celebrate their news, which they would be hosting the very next dad. And not only that, but they were kicking Greg and me out of the house. Justin said he needed to make room for his better family. I want you and Greg out by tomorrow night. We're having a party to announce our news, and I don't want you here to ruin it. You're kicking us out? Where are we supposed to go? Not my problem. Figure it out. This is my house too, Justin. You can't just throw us out. Actually, I can. The house is in my name, remember? You were too busy with your writing to bother with the paperwork. You planned this, didn't you? You've been setting this up for months. Smart girl. Always were the clever one, weren't you? Too bad it didn't help you see what was right in front of you. That night was the worst of my life. I had to sleep on the couch while Justin and Millie took our bedroom. I could hear them laughing and talking, and it made me physically sick. I called my friend, barely able to get the words out through my tears. Can Greg and I stay with you for a while? We don't have anywhere else to go. Oh my God, Evita, of course you can. What happened? It's a long story. I'll explain when we get there. Are you safe? Do you need me to come get you? No, we're okay. We'll be there tomorrow. Thank you. Anytime, honey. We're here for you. The next day, as Greg and I were packing up our things, the party preparations were in full swing. I was trying to leave before any guests arrived, but we weren't fast enough. People started showing up looking confused when they saw me and Greg with our suitcases while Justin and Millie were playing happy hosts. Evita, what's going on? Are you going somewhere? It's complicated. Justin and I are separating. He and Millie are together now. What? but you two are siblings. And what about Greg? Is this like sister wives or something? Apparently that doesn't matter to them. They're starting their new family now. And no, nothing like that. Now, Evita. No need to air our dirty laundry. Why don't you just leave quietly? Justin, how could you? This is your wife and son. Not anymore. Come on, the party's starting. Evita was just leaving. I was just about to grab Greg's hand and make a run for it when a mysterious guest I didn't recognize approached us. Excuse me, but you look like you could use a ride. Can I offer you a lift somewhere? No, thank you. We're fine. Are you sure? Because I couldn't help but notice you're Evita Leka, the writer I've been trying to track down for months. I was shocked with everything that had been going on. I'd almost forgotten about my writing career. The woman introduced herself as Polly, a publisher who'd been following my work. I've been wondering where you've been lately, and I couldn't help but notice you seem to be leaving your own home. Is everything okay? That's a loaded question. Look, I don't know what's going on here, but I have a proposition for you. How about we grab a coffee and I'll tell you how I think I can change your life. I hesitated. This woman was a stranger and I had Greg to think about, but something in her kind eyes made me want to trust her. Plus, what did I have to lose at this point? You know what? A coffee sounds great right about now. But Mom, where are we going? We're gonna get some hot chocolate with this nice lady. How does that sound? Can I get marshmallows? Of course, buddy, all the marshmallows you want. We ended up at a little cafe down the street. Greg was content with his tablet and headphones, so I felt okay talking openly with Polly. So, Evita, wanna tell me what's been going on? And just like that, everything came pouring out. The years of struggling with Justin's resentment, the betrayal, the humiliation of being kicked out of my own home. By the time I finished, I was in tears again. I'm sorry, I'm usually not such a mess. Don't apologize. What you've been through is awful, but I think this could be your comeback moment. I want to offer you a book deal. Not for fiction this time, but for your autobiography. Your story is powerful, Evita. It could help so many people who are going through similar struggles. I was stunned. This wasn't at all what I was expecting when I woke up this morning, Evita. But my career's been tanking lately. Why would you want to take a chance on me? Because I've had a lot of success reviving careers and I see something special in you. Plus, think about it, a story of betrayal, resilience, and raising a child with special needs. It's going to resonate with a lot of readers. I don't know. It's also raw right now. And what about Greg? I need to focus on getting us settled. That's where I come in. My company can set you up with an apartment while you work on the book. We'll cover your expenses, get Greg into a good school that can support his needs. This could be a fresh start for both of you. As Polly laid out her vision, I felt a spark of hope for the first time in months. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the fresh start Greg and I needed. What do you think, buddy? Should Mommy write a book about us? Can I be on the cover? We all laughed, and in that moment, I knew we were gonna be okay. I think we can arrange that, Greg. So, Evita, what do you say? Are you ready to turn this awful situation into something positive? You know what? Let's do it. It's time to write our own happy ending. The next few months were a whirlwind. Polly set us up in a nice apartment while I worked on the book. It was hard reliving all the painful memories, but it was also incredibly therapeutic. I poured my heart out onto the pages, sharing not just the betrayal, but all the challenges and joys of raising Greg. There were days when I could barely write a word, when the pain was too fresh. I can't do this, Polly. It hurts too much. It's okay to take breaks, Evita. This isn't easy. But remember why you're doing this. Your story could help so many people. I know, it's just... I keep thinking about Justin and Millie. How could they do this to us? Their actions say everything about them and nothing about you. You're stronger than they ever gave you credit for. As I wrote, I realized something important. Justin and Millie's betrayal, as horrible as it was, had actually freed me. Free from Justin's constant resentment, free from trying to live up to impossible expectations. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. The book came out, and to everyone's surprise, except Polly's, it was a hit. People connected with our story in ways I never expected. I started getting messages from other parents of children with special needs, from people who'd been betrayed by loved ones, all saying how much our story had helped them. Your book changed my life, Evita. I was ready to give up, but reading about your strength, it gave me hope. Thank you. That means more to me than you know. I have a son with autism too. Your book made me feel less alone. Thank you for sharing your story. We're in this together. Never forget that. One day, about a year after that fateful party, I was doing a book signing when I saw a familiar face in line. It was my old neighbor, looking a bit sheepish. Hi, Vida. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how everything went down that day. We all should have done more to support you. Thank you. That means a lot. And, well, I thought you might like to know, Justin and Millie, they're miserable. Turns out raising a baby isn't the walk in the park they thought it would be. Really, I'm not sure how to feel about that. Last I heard, they were fighting constantly. We can even hear them at night. Justin's drinking again, and Millie's talking about moving out. It's a mess. I'd be lying if I said I feel a little satisfaction hearing that. But mostly I just felt sad for them. Sad that they'd thrown away something good because they couldn't appreciate what they had. As I watched the neighbor walk away, Greg tugged on my sleeve. Mom, are you okay? You know what, buddy? I'm better than okay. We're doing just fine, you and me. Yeah, we are. Can we get ice cream after this? Absolutely, we've earned it. And we were. Life wasn't perfect. Raising a child with special needs is always going to have its challenges. But we were happy and we were together. That's more than I could say for Justin and Millie. As the months passed and my book gained popularity, I started noticing a familiar name popping up in my social media notifications. Millie. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but soon it became clear that my sister was trying to reach out. Her messages started cautiously. Hey, Vita, I saw your book is doing really well. Congratulations. Then they became more insistent. Can we talk? There's so much I need to say to you. Evita, please. Things aren't what they seemed. I made a huge mistake. Each time I saw her name, a surge of anger coursed through me. How dare she try to worm her way back into my life after what she'd done? I found myself gripping my phone so tightly my knuckles turned white, resisting the urge to fire back a scathing response. Instead, I took a deep breath and hit the delete button over and over again. One evening, as I was tucking Greg into bed, he noticed the frown on my face as I checked my phone. Mom, are you okay? He asked, his big eyes full of concern. I forced a smile. I'm fine, sweetie, just some grown-up stuff. Is it Aunt Millie again? He asked, surprising me with his perceptiveness. I hesitated, unsure how much to share. Yes, it is, but don't worry about it, okay? That's for me to handle. Greg was quiet for a moment, then said, You always tell me it's okay to be angry, but that we shouldn't let anger control us. Maybe you should talk to Aunt Millie? His words hit me like a ton of bricks. When did my son become so wise? I kissed him goodnight, my mind whirling. But just as I was considering responding to Millie, a new message appeared, this time from Justin. My blood ran cold as I read his words. Evita, we need to talk about the divorce, about the money, your lawyer's being unreasonable. Let's meet and sort this out ourselves. Any thoughts of reconciliation vanished. I forwarded the message to my lawyer and blocked Justin's number. I wasn't about to let him manipulate me again. The next few weeks were a blur of meetings with my lawyer, poring over financial documents, and trying to prove the emotional abuse I'd endured throughout our marriage. It was exhausting and painful, dredging up memories I'd rather forget. He's claiming he's entitled to a portion of your book earnings, my lawyer explained during one particularly frustrating session. He says he supported you while you were writing, that he's part of the story. I laughed bitterly. Supported me? He resented every minute I spent writing. He made me feel guilty for pursuing my passion while raising our son. My lawyer nodded sympathetically. I believe you, Evita, but we need to prove it. Do you have any evidence? Texts, emails, witnesses who saw how he treated you? I thought back to all the times Justin had belittled my writing, made snide comments about my little hobby, or guilted me for not being a proper wife and mother. Most of it had been behind closed doors, but Surely there was something I could use. As I dug through old emails and messages, I came across more attempts from Millie to reach out. One caught my eye. Evita, I know you hate me, and you have every right to. But there's something you need to know about Justin. He's not the man either of us thought he was. Please, let me explain. For a moment, my finger hovered over the reply button. But then I remembered the sound of her laughter as she and Justin kicked us out of our home. The cruel words they'd both spat at me. No, I didn't need to hear whatever excuses or revelations Millie thought she had. Instead, I focused on building my case. I reached out to old friends who'd witnessed Justin's behavior, dug up old journals where I documented his put-downs and manipulations. It was like reliving years of slow, insidious abuse. And there were days when I could barely face it, but I had to stay strong for Greg and for myself. I refused to let Justin take anything more from us. He'd already stolen years of my life, my trust, and my sense of self-worth. He wasn't going to get a penny of the success I'd built from the ashes of his betrayal. As the legal battle dragged on, I threw myself into my work. I started a support group for parents of children with special needs, channeling my energy into helping others who were struggling like I had been. It was healing in a way I hadn't expected, connecting with people who understood the unique challenges and joys of raising a child like Greg. One night, after a particularly emotional support group meeting, I came home to find Greg waiting up for me. "Mom, are you still sad about Dad and Aunt Millie?" he asked as I sat on the edge of his bed. I considered my answer carefully. "Sometimes, honey. But mostly, I'm just focused on you and me and the life we're building together." Greg nodded solemnly and added, "I'm glad they're not here anymore." "You smile more now." His words brought tears to my eyes. I hugged him tightly, marveling at how perceptive he was. "You're right, I do smile more. And that's because of you, my sweet boy." As I lay in bed that night, I thought about how far we'd come. The pain of Justin and Millie's betrayal was still there, a dull ache in my chest, but it no longer consumed me. I was building a life on my own terms, surrounded by people who truly cared about us. The legal battle with Justin was far from over, and I knew there would be more challenges ahead. Millie would probably keep trying to reach out, and part of me was curious about what she had to say about Justin. But for now, I was content to focus on what really mattered: my son, my writing, and the beautiful, messy, imperfect life we were creating together. As I drifted off to sleep, I made a silent promise to myself and to Greg. No matter what Justin or Millie or anyone else threw our way, we would face it together. We were survivors, and our story was far from over. Looking back on everything that happened, I can't help but feel grateful. Not for the pain or the betrayal, obviously, but for the lessons I learned, the strength I discovered in myself, and the unexpected opportunities that came from hitting rock bottom. I think about that day sometimes, standing in front of my house with a suitcase in one hand and Greg's hand in the other, feeling like my world was ending. If you'd told me then that in a year I'd be a best-selling author with a supportive community around me, I would have laughed in your face. But that's the funny thing about life, isn't it? Sometimes the worst moments, the times when you feel like everything is falling apart, are actually the beginning of something amazing. You just have to be brave enough to take that first step into the unknown. So here I am, living a life I never could have imagined. Greg is thriving in a school that really supports his needs. I'm writing again, not just about my own experiences, but also advocating for families of children with special needs. And I've got a circle of friends who've become like family to us. I remember something Polly said to me that day in the cafe when everything seemed so hopeless. "Evita, sometimes life hands you lemons and sometimes it dumps the whole lemon tree on your head. But you know what? You can still make one hell of a lemonade stand if you've got the right attitude." At the time, I thought she was just trying to cheer me up, but now I get it. Life is going to throw curveballs at you, big ones, small ones, and sometimes ones that feel like they're going to knock you flat on your back. But it's not about avoiding the curveballs. It's about learning how to swing,